Hi everyone, it is Heather with Rose Hill Paper Cottage, and today I'm going to make a Christmas tag for a swap that I'm in, and I am using the Paper Cameo kit. I think it's called Pretty Christmas. I'll double check that and I'll put that information below, but I saw these tags and I just thought that they were just so pretty. They have this like gold detail in them, and I don't know, I just thought that they were really, really, sweet looking. So I went ahead and decided that I would use them, and then I also took a piece of ledger. This is from like 1870s, somewhere around there. And it's kind of it's like a nice durable weight. It's not fragile or anything like that. And I use it a lot. So I just cut it down to like 8.5 by 11 and then ran it through. And then this image is also, this nice, beautiful, like neutral wallpaper looking image is also in the kit as well. And I thought it was just so pretty with these tags. So I went ahead and just kind of decided I just trimmed it down, kind of folded it up. It's kind of a thing I like to do. I like simple things. And then I had this idea to somehow attach this, old envelope on the back and put the tag in front. So we'll kind of see how it goes. I'm, not 100% sure. Although actually I am, because I'm doing a voiceover. So I already know what I did. So you'll just be along for the ride and you'll get to see what I did. So first I took that X-Acto knife and I cut out the inside of the frame. So be careful if you're going to do something like that, because those are sharp, I know from experience. And then I took some plastic sleeve and I, cut a rectangle out to the shape of that tag and then used some double-sided tape to adhere it. The camera doesn't do a very good job focusing there for you, but it's 1/8 of an inch. So just a real skinny piece is what I used, so that I could, put an image in, in between the layers there. So I just wanted a skinnier, double-sided tape to use. You could also stitch around it instead, if you wanted to, but I didn't do any sewing. And then I'm thinking about using that image there. So I think there's like pink and green and blue, and I just went with the blue one. And so I just use the ruler and just, tear it out. On the back side of both, I actually use that same image that's on the ledger. I just printed two to a page instead of the one, so it's, it makes the image smaller. And then I didn't do the fit to frame, I think is what it is when you print. And so I lost a little bit on those other two tags, but it doesn't matter. I'll use them in another, at another time in another way. So it's fine, making mistakes. It's, they're fixable. It's easy. So I'm trying to decide here what I want to do with the image, because it needs to be just a smidge, wider. And so I'm thinking I'm going to use some of this, embossed paper, and I'm just trying to figure out like which tone kind of matches a little bit better. And so I'll go with this one here. This is actually from Ledger as well. When you get old Ledger books, usually there's, the pages at the front and the back, just like a book, that are usually plain. Not all the time. Sometimes there's, writing or descriptions of the type of ledger. It just depends. This one happened to be plain. And this one was a very fragile ledger. So this is actually doubled up. And then I put it through the embosser. So I just adhered a little bit on the edge, just to give a little bit of detail. You'll see that I'll lose the front part doubled up because I didn't glue it down when I doubled it up. I just doubled it over, ran it through the embossing machine, and then that was it. So I've glued it down, and it'll eventually come back up. So now I need to determine how much of that side that I need to take off. And so I'll just tear it. So I was thinking of gluing it, and then I was kind of like, it doesn't really need it. I've got it there. But it doesn't quite meet up at the top, and so I'll just take a little bit of like piano roll paper to kind of camouflage it. You can't really see on camera, but because it looks completely fine there, but you can actually see like a little bit of the white ledger kind of peeking through. I could have also just added, some paint, like gold paint or sparkly paint or whatever, but this detail is cute as well. It all works out. It was so nice today to just kind of, craft a bit because, I haven't really had a chance to do that, here lately. And the day was perfect, it wasn't overly sunny, it wasn't gloomy. It was just kind of perfect to just film and just, craft a bit. I think it took me about, I don't know, maybe a little over an hour to do this tag. So I'm just like lining it up to just decide, what else I need to trim off. So I think the tag is a little bit too small. Now, obviously, I could have made the ledger smaller, but because I'm going to do the envelope on the back and everything, it needs to be, a little bit wider. So I'm thinking about using this mistletoe kiss music for the background. Plus, it'll give additional like writing space. So I'm just roughing up the edges. I like that look. I like when things don't look, perfectly new. So I just kind of like folded the image up close anyway is already like, kind of like it's aged and old, and there's layers of paper that have curled, and so it's really cool looking already up close. But I can barely see those details, on the camera. I have it, zoomed out enough so that you guys can kind of see my workspace and what I'm doing. And it helps to stay in frame too, doesn't it? I just love this paper. It's like I'm like, "Oh man, that would be so pretty as like an accent wall." So that is from the sketchbook, and it's called well, it's not called. It's called the sketchbook. It's a journal I made ages ago. It was my grandmother's, and I have pages from it. That particular one, I think, says Christmas dinner. So I thought it was kind of perfect, for this tag. So I am taking these like coffee reinforcements and I'm going to use them at the top, but I was like, I should just add a little bit more sparkle. I added it around the frame, and so I am going to add a little bit around the whole reinforcement. So I'm just kind of like stirring it up because this particular, glitter is, kind of goopy. Is that a word? Goopy? I use it. And I don't know why I'm showing you everything in the camera, because I've got it so that it's, that it doesn't constantly focus. So you're not going to see anything I put up close, and then I forget about that when I'm filming. I'm like, here, look. And then you can't actually. It's too blurry. So I'm debating on putting the book page back there, but I feel like it's too plain. I feel like that just isn't where it goes. And then at the same time, this ledger piece is, it's thick as it's folded and stuff. So I just take a little bit of that bulk out by just, tearing the backside of that part that's folded over. Another cool idea would be to whatever you put behind that tag, you could actually attach the tag to the paper, so that it would like swivel out like with a brad or something like that. Or just, punch a hole into your paper, do the whole reinforcement thing, and then tie your ribbon through, all of it as well. Lots of options. And I contemplated doing that, but then I decided to just leave it free. I feel like this, because of how I end up, with everything, that goes into it, which you'll see, that it can still be adapted or changed or, altered a little bit. And I think that the freedom of allowing somebody else to do that, as opposed to it just being something that's completely finished, can't do anything to it, having that option, I think, was a good idea here. Did that even make sense? I think it did. It did in my head. But basically, I'm making a tag for somebody, but yet it could still be, kind of, they could still do something with it. They could still change it up a little bit if they wanted to fit wherever they're going to use it. So just to add a little bit more texture, I'm going to, add this embossing. I think that's an actual book page. Yeah, that's an actual book page. So I'm adding the embossed piece up at the top there, and I'm just letting the glue dry while I kind of move on and do something else. And then I'm just kind of like fixing the envelope there where, it's not completely adhered to that, where they adhere it down, but then they tear it open at the top, and so it's not always usually attached. So the way I'll keep that closed is by that paper clip that'll be clipped to the whole thing. It'll also keep the envelope on the back attached. But you'll see here in a second, what I end up doing. So I'm just going to tear this, embossing. And then I'm determining if I want it to kind of just be on this side too. And I ultimately decide that I like it. I could have just cut it across the top, but I liked that it was just kind of brought around to the back, just incorporating, all the colors, like everything flowing, through the whole design, I suppose. So I like the way that looks, it's imperfect and the white is showing through with the cream colored patina of the book page. So then I decide here I'm going to add a little bit more of that glitter to the music sheet. And I'm just doing it really light. You can kind of just see like the little sparkles. And I'm also trying to be mindful of not making it like too wet, so I don't make the colors from the print, smear or anything like that. So there's my technique right there of trying to dry something quickly. Did you see that? That was completely professional. So I'm going to take this old, I think this used to be like not a tablecloth, but probably something that was, put onto, a dresser or something like that to just, make it look pretty. And I'm cutting that up. And I'm going to use that as the tabs for this envelope so that it can flip open. Now, I could have glued down the envelope to, the back of the base of the tag, but I did want it to flip open, because then that could be additional journaling space. Something could be put back there, a photo, just, whatever. Again, I just didn't want this to be completely like 100% done if it didn't need to be. It is done, but I think you understand what I mean, that there's still ways to alter it and to make it their own for my recipient. So I'm just kind of judging where my tabs are going to be, and also keeping in mind that when the bottom is flipped up, to paper clip it into place. Because I need the paper clip to not be have interference from the tab. That'll just make everything too thick. So a trick I use a lot when I'm doing some kind of like flip like this is I will, press down the fabric, and then I push it as I'm holding the envelope. I'll push the fabric, up. So then that way I'm making sure that it's going to stay, straight and adhered and not get too loose or anything. So I am going to put that, old clothespin there to prevent the front from the back from gluing together, because there's probably some, a little bit of glue that'll seep through that material. So I feel like this image needs just a little bit of a tab to help, pull it in and out of the tag. So I am debating on this velvet here, which is like a golden color, and it's just pretty. And I'm not cutting it straight. I want there to be a little bit of, fraying and everything like that. So I want it to just have that kind of old world feel. And then I'm taking a little bit of fray check, because, the velvet can fray pretty badly. I am just running it along the back side of that velvet piece, and then, it'll dry and everything like that. And it'll prevent it from, really fraying as it, if the image is, happens to be used a lot. I was just double checking to make sure those tabs were, completely, stuck down. So now I'm trying to determine, do I want to do anything to this book page? And I ultimately decide that it is going to go into the envelope on the back there. And I'm just going to put some things inside that can be used, just some fun, different little things. But I will put something on the front of the book page. So I'm not altering it really. I'm just going to kind of staple something there. And I have a lot of these, pieces from, using the texture paste on all kinds of different, materials. And so I auditioned, a couple, and ultimately decided on this I think it's like this old glassine bag that I had. And I did a lot of texture paste on it, and it turned out really cool. So I'm just gathering a few different images. So I also, that is gold leaf. It's a liquid gold leaf. And I added it to this, I'll show you here. I basically took an old piece of ledger. I stuck down a bunch of different, masking tape on top of it, and then I printed out. And this is actually a ruby and pearl image. And I printed it over the masking tape. So I'm going to put that inside too. And I added a little bit of that gold leaf to the top of it just to be, I don't know. I think it looks neat. So I need to just trim it down a bit because I think it'll stick out about 1/8 of an inch. And I love this tree here. So just, kind of putting a few little like non-holiday and holiday type things in it that can be used. So this will end up kind of being bulky, but, when it's used in a journal or something like that, it wouldn't be this bulky because, a lot of these items would have been taken out and used elsewhere. So for the time being, it's going to be a little bit bulky, but eventually it won't be. So this stuff did not dry like this quickly. I had stopped the video, went and did some other things, and then came back and, finished filming. So because that fray check, it does take a little bit to dry. So I don't want you to think that it was, lickety split like that drying, because it wasn't. So I have these like old brochures that were, donated to me, and the brochures inside I shred for paper making, but the outside cover is a cardstock. So what I thought I would do to reuse them is that I just covered the back of it with like an acrylic gold paint, and then I'm using this oh my gosh, what do you call these things? This punch. It's 2 inches, and I'm just creating these like cute little circle discs with it after I embossed it. So painted it, let it dry, embossed it, and then, did the punch. I thought it was cute. So, you may start seeing those kind of pop up in, thank you packs if you happen to order from my shop in the future. So I'm taking this copper stamp pad and just kind of, because I had trimmed that down after I had added that gold, it just, it was so stark on that side. And so just to dull it down a little bit. And that's my fancy drying technique. So I think all those little pieces are just so cute. So this envelope is a little bit tore there, and so it's kind of hard to get the stuff to go in and out easily, and so you'll see I'll take care of that. I'll fix it. So I'm trying to show you a little bit closer the sparkly bits and the gold that I added, because I added that liquid gold to it. So you can kind of see it a little bit there. But I think this ended up so cute. Adding a little bit more gold there. And I'm like, hey, why not do it all over? So I'm like, oh, I'm just going to throw this here and throw it there, and why not? So I hope you enjoyed this. At the end of the video, there'll be like a close-up of the tag. And then if you happen to follow me on Instagram, I'll probably have a photo or two there so you can kind of see a little bit more close up. it's just kind of harder to do that on, when you're filming and you need to be far away enough, from what you're doing so that you guys can see what's going on, and being closer. But I do hope you, enjoyed the video. And, this gave you some ideas of, stuff that you can create and make and do. And obviously this could be any theme. It doesn't have to necessarily be, Christmassy. You could use other different images. So yeah, so I just add a little bit of, this kind of like gold sari here, and then a little bit of polka dotted glittery mesh fabric, for a bow at the top that I received in some Happy Mail recently. So it'll end up really cute. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I will put some information below of, things I used. But if I forget to mention something, then just, holler at me and let me know what it is. But anyway, have a great day, guys, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye-bye.